Hello, welcome. Good morning or good afternoon. Let's see here really quick. I'm going to see who got a spot today. Chris, welcome. Kara, welcome. We have a light room today. I think I need to make some more sessions available. Um anyway, okay. Well, let's see. Okay, a couple more note takers popping in. Chris, I think you had sent me a message this morning. Is that something we should discuss here? Let me turn your mic on, Chris. Ruben. Oh, here, we'll bring Ruben up first. And then Chris, let me know. I'm gonna check your I haven't had a chance to check it yet. So go, Ruben, make you a co-host here. Cool. There you go, Ruben. I think you're host now, co-host.
You guys, hello and welcome everyone.
Your video is not on. Is that by default or by choice? Or there you
There
go.
it is.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah. Ruben, anything to do you want to share here before we jump in? I have one session of the person who's booked that they're not here today, but we're going to record for them because they've asked, and then maybe some walk-ins after that.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking, Darius. There's something that I'm really, really passionate about right now. I've been reading this book, and it's called Only the Paranoid Survive.
Hmm.
And this is actually a book by a gentleman by the name of Andy Grove, who was the former CEO of Intel. And one of the philosophies that he had, which I think really made the company survive and to be what it is today, a multi, billion dollar corporation, 10 times over. It's unbelievable what they've done. It's this idea that if you don't make yourself obsolete as a company, somebody else will. So Apple, Steve Jobs, he was actually a student of Andy Grove's, and he studied this idea of making yourself obsolete. So if we all remember the iPod back in the day, and then one day when the iPhone came out, all of a sudden there was no need for the iPod anymore. The iPhone completely replaced that need. Now all of us have an iPhone or an Android, and nobody has a music player. So one of the ideas that I wanted to present to everyone in this group and anyone that's watching this recording is this idea that everything that we are doing can actually be changed. It can be upgraded. It can be made obsolete and improved. Just think about what are the PDFs that you're using? What are the forms that you're using? What are the procedures that you're using? What are the sales tactics that you're using? Are you not using automation? Are you not using artificial intelligence? Are you not using video? Even a process can be made obsolete. And I want to just invite everyone to really adopt this idea to say, what is it that I'm doing can I make obsolete? Can I make outdated and then replaced with something a little bit more modern? I always think about this anytime I get a PDF and sorry, like a DocuSign. Anytime I get a DocuSign, I think to myself, I said, is there a specific legal reason why this company has to send me a DocuSign? Or have they just not adopted, right? And sometimes you have to do it, and I understand that because you need an actual verifiable digital signature, and that makes sense to me. But sometimes the company just hasn't done the process and done the work to go and make a form with a credit card or the ability to sign directly within a browser. And I want this to be the sign for everyone to go ask yourself, what can we go and do a little bit better? Because frankly, if we don't make our processes obsolete, our competitors will. And that is the truth. So let's just go do it first. So I'd love to get some comments, see what people think about this. If there's any ideas that we can help on using Dubb, using technology, using AI and automation, forms, please let us know. We're here to help.
Love that. Cool. Ruben, thank you. Speaking of that, guys, one of the sessions we have for today for the open mic is exactly around this idea of automation, but also this concept of how to make it more effective, right? You guys will probably all benefit from this. But I want to tell a little story about this client situation. Maybe you guys you'll find yourself something similar, and then I want to show you some of the things we're doing to get to a better place. So essentially, this client, Thomas, this is for you, my friend. He has a list source, right? He has a way of getting his leads. And however, these leads, he hasn't quite honed in on his exact ICP, right? That's one of the trainings we talk about in the coaching material is your ideal customer profile. And so for him, sometimes it's a manager, sometimes it's an owner, sometimes it's a franchise, sometimes it's some combination of those things. They're an owner of a franchise or an owner of an individual thing. So he has these different types of titles that he's trying to reach out to and connect with and get responses from. And when we first started working together, I showed him some. This was more recently too. So I showed him the training on ICP, and that's what he was struggling with. Is like, well, I don't really know yet who, because I've worked with all three of these people. I've worked with franchise owners, I've worked with individual location owners, and I've worked with managers. So he isn't actually sure yet. And so what we started with, and of course, I gave him the idea of what would be best is to figure out which of those is your ICP so that you can spend more of your time focusing on that specific title. Because between a manager and an owner and like a franchise operator or something, there's going to be differences, right? Different pain points, different value propositions to them. And so I just want to share this with you guys just to think about that right now. If you're trying to automate something, if you're doing marketing where you're reaching out to multiple people, just put that thought process on is who is your ICP, your ideal customer, and what are you doing to connect and resonate directly to them? And if you're kind of where Thomas was at, where you're like, well, I don't know which one yet, and so I'm going to try to talk to all of them. Now, the bad news is with that is when you try to speak to all of those people, it's going to sound like more like you're speaking to none of them, more like you're taking a shot in the dark or sort of a generic approach. Also, the result of that is not going to be ideal. And so in Thomas's situation, we turned on some automations. And I described from the beginning, I know his time is limited, right? He's really busy working on his business or in the business, not on the business. So we described to him, you'll want to segment these lists. You'll want to make sure that you're targeting people with specific messaging so that you're going to see which of those groups are actually performing better, who's responding to your messages based on what you're sharing. That helps you understand their problems better, your solution to them, how it fits them better. And it's an ongoing process where you can get sharper and sharper versus we still don't know where we're at. And so when we first started, it was a blanket approach. It was one automation. He's like, this is all I have time for right now to create one workflow where it says, hey, person, right? Hey, generic, and where it doesn't say, hey, manager, hey, owner, hey, where the email itself or the videos aren't necessarily tailored to that specific job title or that specific audience type. And as a result, the automation, what the results weren't great, right? Where the open rate or the click-through rate, open rate wasn't fantastic. And some of the responses that he did get were actually like, hey, this isn't my decision. That's this guy. So he connected with the manager, and the manager was like, that's the owner. And so he didn't have the owner's contact. Or some of the messaging though was that the responses showed that it wasn't a perfect target, right? They said, hey, this isn't relevant for me, kind of thing. Not in those exact words, but it was less responses. And then the responses that we did get were sort of showing that the message wasn't exactly on target. So what we're now doing is kind of a back to the drawing board thing, where instead of one generic series of messages going to everybody in his list to try to figure out who's going to listen to this message, it's going to walk before we can run, right? He went straight to sprint, where it's like, put everything into this one workflow and throw stuff against the wall, see what sticks. I don't recommend that, right? That's not, if you watch some of the trainings that we've built, that's not the method I recommend. It's sort of the method that a lot of people do though. It's just instinct, right? You're like, well, let's just see what works. Throw a bunch of stuff out there. It's a very common approach. Not the one I recommend though. Instead, I recommend a more thoughtful sort of approach where that's like the Abe Lincoln sort of thing where you take an hour to sharpen the axe and then it takes a couple swings, right? Versus spending an hour breaking your back, swinging the axe, and then you're exhausted and you're not ready for the next tree. So this is more of the approach of take a while sharpening the axe, where yes, does it take more time to create better subject lines, better email bodies, better video content that speaks more directly to the person that's actually receiving this content. Again, there's big variations in what an owner or what a manager or what a there's lots of different titles, like even just some for some of our real estate clients, right? Buyers and sellers, very different places in what they're concerned with and what they're thinking about. There's a lot of overlap, but there's also a lot of differences. And so I don't mean this to put more work in front of you guys. I don't want you to think, oh, more work, more work. I'm doing this to say better results, right? The things that you guys are wanting to accomplish in your automations, in your messaging, in your marketing, in your sales, these aren't things that are unachievable, right? It's a matter of leveling up our skills and actually getting the work done, the practice here, where we're measuring our subjects, we're measuring the click-throughs, the responses, the sort of engagement on things. And if we're not getting good engagement, then we have to go sort of back to that phase one that I just mentioned, which is let's now go back to the ICPs. Who are we reaching out to? Is it as targeted as we can make it? Is it as specifically segmented? Now, we don't want to say a segment of just one person, right? Oh, I have this perfect little ICPs, one guy. That's not scalable, right? So there is a balance of how much segmentation you should be doing, what's ideal. And unfortunately, there's not a blanket rule here, right? There's not sort of a one cookie cutter approach that says, well, here's how much you should segment and here's how much you shouldn't segment. What I recommend doing is you're going to need to niche down and to split test until you're finding the result that you're expecting, right? And so what does expecting mean? If you're doing cold outreach, look at the stats and studies of what cold outreach sort of results are. If you don't know what the ballpark is, you don't know what the average is, you don't have an expectation, you don't know where you're at all. So first understand what your sort of target is, what the industry average is, right? Get an idea of what you know is possible to accomplish, and not like crazy marketing claims like, oh, 90% email open rates. Like that's very extremely rare and unheard of, right? That's not a reasonable target. So do some research, find out, like, are you sending cold emails? Is this an opted-in offer? Is this a nurturing sequence? Whatever the thing that you're trying to build, get some sort of ballpark of what your result should be, and then test, deploy your first subject bodies, emails, campaigns, and then measure. Are you in or near the ballpark of what your expected result should be? And if not, sometimes it's really frustrating. Sometimes we literally have to go back to square one and try a completely different subject and a completely different body and a completely different approach within that segment, right? If you have this whole list and you tried emailing them or messaging them, right? And maybe it's an ad, maybe it's just automation, maybe it's a bulk email campaign, whatever that was. You tried this and the result was not what you expected based on your research, based on what you know should be a ballpark. It wasn't that. So then that means we go back to the drawing board to square one, which is the ICP. Within that whole list, if we're not able to communicate effectively to them, is there subsets? Are there segments within that audience where we can perhaps target them more effectively, where we can say, speak to them more specifically? And this isn't an example of like, if you have 1,000 people and you have 5 Johns, 10 Bills, like that's too small of a segment, in my opinion. If you have like an assistant or, some AI tools to help you really get very granular, that's probably the best way to achieve success, right? The more specific, the more hyper-personalized your stuff is, the better the result is typically. But there's a point of diminishing returns, right? Where if you're doing everything yourself, you can't sit there and craft one message for one person in a list of 1,000. So this is where, again, I mentioned there's not a one cookie cutter approach for how much segmentation you should be doing within your business, but there is that sort of baseline that I mentioned where you're researching based on what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. So you have an expected sort of average result that your ballpark should be. And if you're coming in at above in the range of that, and then you know what to do after this. So for my friend Thomas, this is where he was at. He was at look, I'm limited on time. I'm going to try this blanket approach. And I told him right from the start, I was like, hey, I don't have high hopes for this because we have 3 different segments, at least, that in my opinion, should be segmented. They're very specific job titles. 3 different segments within one sort of group. I don't have high expectations for that. Unless the personalization was something else, where it was nothing based around their job title and it was something super specific to them, like their zodiac sign or something. No, I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying it would have to be something else that's so hyper-personalized across those 3 groups. But the way he was doing it, I would say I don't have high result for this or high expectation. And so when the result was not what we wanted it to be, we knew now what to come do after, which is, okay, let's come back to square one. I know that it wasn't effective to do the blanket approach. And now instead, I'm going to try to segment my audience one step further. So instead of taking your group of 1,000, 10,000, 30,000 and splitting it into 25 groups right away or 100 groups right away, what's the first level of segmentation? Like for real estate, buyers and sellers, right? There's an easy one. Who bought, who sold, who came in from an ad for selling or buying. That's an obvious and easy idea for segmentation. But from there, what's further segmentation? Is there like FSBOs or expires, or is there within a budget? Is there within what they said in their time frame? How much data do you have on those leads to actually put them in a segment? Another thing, when one of our other clients here having a similar problem where she wants better click-throughs on them, and we talked about the locality, that she's able to actually target some people within a specific location, within a state, within a city. That's another way to hyper-personalize within one audience. So I only say this for you guys because I really, truly want the best result for you. And sometimes to get the best result takes more work, right? That's just the nature of the beast. If you want to be in the Olympics, you got to work really hard. If you want to have Olympic level results, it takes extra work. And so my advice to you guys here, for Thomas, for you, my friend, we need to segment. We need to segment the audiences of whatever you guys are dealing with just further. And like I said, I'm not saying break them apart into 1,000 segments right away. I'm saying try to be as efficient with this as you can. Like, what are the biggest segments that you can personalize on first? Because you don't want to have to write 10 different automations or 100 different automations for one thing that you broke apart, right? 1, 2, 3, 5. One is great if you could do one, but we all know that's probably not going to succeed unless you found some other super hyper personalized thing that everybody fits in that one profile. Otherwise, you have a few different sort of ICPs, these ideal customer profiles. So your value proposition, their pain points, your understanding of them, your messaging to them. That's where the segments are important. So another just more common example here: past clients versus leads. Right, most every business has that. You have your past clients which have the opportunity for referral, for renewal, for the top of mind, for upsells. That has one very specific segment of messaging that's probably very, very different, or should be, compared to what you're sending to leads, to people that aren't your customers yet, right? That's probably something every business should consider right now, if you haven't already, segmenting at least those people, where you're like, you know what, I need to go do some sphere marketing. Your sphere is, usually not your leads yet. And then your leads people, they have something else. Okay, guys, that's it for Thomas's lesson today. And hopefully you guys will all have benefited from that as well. Just take a closer look at your own ICPs, your own segments, and determine, is there an easy win that I have here where I can, like, you know what, this group here that I'm trying to talk to everybody at once, if we just split these into the two, hit copy on a workflow, right? And I'll give you guys one further example of something that we just did. We had a presentation with a partnership through another company. And so, of course, there's attendees, of course, there's registrants, very different emails, very different people, right? People that committed to something and showed up and said, hey, I'm going to commit to this webinar. I'm going to show up and I'm going to sit through the thing and I'm going to learn. And the other people, they're like, I'm going to register, but I'm not going to show up. So very different messaging, very different segments. You don't want to send the same message that, hey, here's the recording, right, to everybody that was in that audience. So perfect example of how to segment audiences in a very easy way. And that's where I recommend you guys start with the easy wins of how to get good segmentation. And then eventually, if you're like, no, what, we can do better. We can get more granular, more focused on these audiences. So, all right, guys, that is Thomas's. Let me see if anyone else submitted here while we were there. Okay, so I don't have another open mic. That was the only one for today. But I will now switch over to some chat and some Q&A. Guys, if you need if you have something, I'm going to check in the chat and the Q&A now, typically in the order that's received. It maybe looks like Tony's thing is in there first. Chris, you're just after that. And Kara and Chris, I guess at the same time there, Ty. So Chris, you need help. Kara, it doesn't sound like you need help, but I'll pull you up just in case. Tony, let me make sure your microphone is on, my friend. Tony, go ahead. you said unable to add the calendar link to your account. You mean as a CTA?
No, you and I talked about it the other day. Um, what I
Oh,
want to do,
you're talking about as the custom property having the ability to book the appointment of the contact in there.
yeah, put it as a custom property. And if I'm in Darius, I just click on that custom property and set an appointment with Darius at X time using
Oh,
my
okay. No, no, no,
calendar
no.
link.
Sorry. That was the what the all the thing that we discussed would be a link to the calendar itself. That's all that would actually populate in the custom property would be the link to your calendar where they could book a time. Like I mentioned yesterday or the Tuesday, it's really more of only a shortcut that you would get with that. So
Where I could book a time with them, right?
um
I'm in somebody's contact. I've got a link there. I click on my Calendly link and I say appointment with Darius
right,
on.
right. So as a visual, here's what we were talking about is um here's a contact, right? Dubb.com/ Darius. Or actually, you know what? I have a Calendly link here. Let me grab this one.
You got to put HTTPS, I think.
Yeah. Okay, there's my Calendly link. So
Yeah,
we
I
take
did
the
that today
Calendly.
and it didn't work.
Well, let's check here. So boom.
It's not a live link.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so it's not a clickable link. Got it. Got it. All right. So let me that's a something on my end is let me ask our development team. We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow morning, so I'll have a fast answer on that one, maybe even later today. But let me leave that note really quick. Is can we allow links in CRM properties to open a new tab/linkable? Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Okay.
half
Sorry
the
about that,
list.
Tony. I
Yeah,
didn't realize they wouldn't be linked when you first put them in there.
yeah. Well, that was it for me. I just wanted to
Got it.
know
No,
because it says website. I would
yeah,
presume.
right. You'd assume you should be able to click from there. So no, I think that's maybe just a little oversight, and I think that's probably an easy fix. Unless I know there are some. This one doesn't seem like it, but there are sometimes the security concerns. Like the reason we don't allow custom scripts, like custom coding on the video pages, is because people can embed some malicious stuff there. So this is not one of those things, though. I think this should be totally fine, Tony.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Yeah, great, great. Thanks for pointing that out as well. Like I said, I think in my opinion, it's just a an oversight or something. Those links should be clickable. Why wouldn't they?
Right. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, buddy. Okay, Kara. Kara, if you could raise the hand, I'm not sure which one of you. I know you have a team member here as well. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Um, okay, yeah. Until you set it up, it's hard a little bit harder to use than it first looks like. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, because logically speaking, when you're going through all the webinars and you're looking at all that, it just seems like super easy. But then when you actually start kind of, building it with what you want in mind, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what's the so I guess really kind of the question is, what is kind of a good train of thought, if there
Mhm.
is one, or
Mhm.
to know kind of what the best practice is for the outcome that you're wanting? Because I know that, and I know it's a million different scenarios, but
Yeah.
until you kind of get your feet wet and kind of, because it's like when to use the if thens, because the,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mechanics of it's really easy and it's really cool,
Yeah.
but
But
it's when to kind
exactly
of,
the strategy of like what do I actually
yes, strategy. Yeah.
I liked what you said there too, though, is which is the end goal in mind. That's
Right.
really the most important thing when you're building a workflow is building backwards, right? What is the goal in mind? Most often it's to get them to convert, right? Get them to do something. So
Right.
whether that's a booking or a testimonial or a purchase or an apply now, that's really where you'd work backwards from. And then what are the things that you have at your disposal to help them get that goal? So Kara, would you be thinking of like a lead nurturing or past client workflow for apply now or refinance, or what would you say your workflow's goal would be?
Yeah. I think the first one that we were working on was just the leads,
Yeah. Okay.
just a generic lead scenario
Yeah.
of of that. Yeah, and I started on it, and then it was taking me too long, and I had to move on to another project. And I thought, okay, I'm either overcomplicating it, which
Mhm.
I have a tendency to do,
Yeah.
or I'm just not seeing the forest for the trees.
No,
So
no. Okay. I've had the benefit of working with some large mortgage teams from like
yeah,
Fannie Mae and stuff like that. So what I've seen work well with them also is one of the workflows that we built for them was a nurturing sequence, right? Where it's, did you know this? Now they happen to have some organizational information, right? Like, did you know we do that? Did you know we have these types of things? So that was what a lot of their workflow was, more like and it was a little bit of a balance to do this, because you don't want to say, oh, look at us, we're awesome. But
right,
you can do that in a way that's valuable to them, right? Like,
right.
hey, did you know we offer these creative solutions? Like, yes,
Mhm.
that's a little bit of, hey, look how cool we are, but it's to their benefit, right? It's to their
Right.
benefit to know this information and to have it at their disposal. So that was one of the workflows that worked really well for their team, was a lot of what they could do as an organization standpoint, because they did have the benefit of that. So for like you personally, what would you say would be some of your strengths that you could play on like that? Maybe it's not necessarily a specific product, but is it a bit of information? Is it a level of expertise, some sort of certification, specialization that benefits them though, right? Not just like, hey,
Right.
I've closed $1 billion in loans. Like,
Right.
if they don't care necessarily, that's good for them, but not necessarily the information that really motivates them to say, well, look, she really cares. She really knows.
Right.
So that,
Right.
because I mean, with mortgage, it's not as emotional as real estate, right? They're just
Right.
a little bit more. Yours guys is like, okay, do you know what you're doing, and can you offer me the best rate? And that's
Right.
who gets me the
Right.
best rate. So
Yeah.
it's, if it's not down to the rate, and then it's the trust, and then it's the relationship.
Right.
So with yours, what could you do in the sense of what that other mortgage organization was doing, which is, what's a way you can provide value in a way that when they open the email, they say, oh, this is interesting. This is pretty cool. And I don't want you to think you have to do this all at once. It's not a sit down and complete everything in one setting. It's sort of like, spend 10 minutes today and come up with one really good idea of what a touch point would be, where, like, some secret information, like what was something that you shared with somebody one time and they just went, wow, that was really interesting, or that was really thoughtful, that was really cool, that was really considerate of you.
Right. Right. Well, to be honest, that part is really easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
the ideas of, what I want to talk about and that kind of thing, that point comes really, really easy to me.
Okay.
But then it's sitting down, and then again, you have to kind of back into it. Where do I put what where?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need a call to action? Do I do the if then? When do I wait?
Okay, I see. So okay, well, if you're the hard part of what I consider the hard part is what you consider the easy part.
Yeah, no,
Because,
that's
yeah,
easy to me.
that for me, because it's always about thinking of the ICP and then coming up with your expertise, and that's in my opinion the most sort of creative process, because it takes your insider expertise, your personality, all those things combined. So as far as the execution of the workflow goes, this is one of the things. I know you've watched some of my trainings. I think maybe I
I've
didn't.
watched all
I know,
of
yeah, all
them.
that's what I meant. So for the mastering the automation one, maybe I didn't include enough insight here as to like, when you're thinking of the cadence, right? The behavior. If this is a lead, that means, oh, and actually depending on the lead source,
Right.
is your lead source coming in from because sometimes they'll say 6 months, they'll say 1 year, they'll say right now. And this isn't
Right.
available. If it's from a referral, they just say, hey, these guys are interested in a home. And like, that's all you get, right? You don't necessarily know.
Right.
So that's what I would say is the first thing, is when we're talking about segmentation,
Yeah.
what is the information you have on that lead? In this case, the lead is your ICP, where we don't have to worry about that. So now it's just, what information do you have on them, and are you able to segment them within that lead to get a better sort of engagement and response? Because if someone's ready right now, that's a completely different workflow than someone that says, I need credit repair 6 months, a year, something else, right? Where
Right.
says, you're going to email them like every day, every other day. You're going to set a
Mhm.
manual task that says, call them if they don't open this email. That would be a much different workflow than if this is a lead that put a year from now. So what does that look like for you, Kara? Is there any
Right.
information
So
as to that? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so when I can kind of build it in my head first,
Mm-hmm.
so I think what I'll do, because what you just said really kind of helped me kind of frame it out in my head,
Good.
is I'll go through and I think just kind of write out kind of a flow chart, if you
Yeah.
will, of what I want to communicate, and at what trigger do I feel I want to communicate that point, and then I have to figure out which bucket they're in. I talk about buckets all the time of whether they're a lead, a past client,
segments, buckets. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I think I'll just kind of build that because I am very visual. So then when I can see it, then when I start building it, I may send that to you and say, okay, this is what I want to build. This is how I think I need to build it, and then get your input on that.
Love to help you with that. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. No. So, and then good. I like, see guys, sometimes all it takes is a little bit of conversation, a little bit of thought, new frame of reference on an old topic. And you're like, hey, you know what? I got a new idea. And I can promise you every time you relook at something, unless you just looked at it really, really closely, you're going to find something new. You're going to see something that could be more efficient. Like Ruben mentioned, we can make ourselves obsolete, make our past processes that were awesome, we thought were incredible, and say, wow, I've learned like so much in the past 6 months about my IC, about technology, about marketing or whatever, that now you're going to come sharpen that axe again and come back at it and be more efficient. So,
okay. Thank you.
Kara, thank you. All right. Chris, thank you for your patience. I didn't check the email yet. I was busy this morning, so I was getting ready for this and some other things. What do you got, Chris? How can we help?
I talked to Raina last week, but like my videos are not sending. They're going to pending. Like I can send a video to a single person. It'll say success and I get the confetti. But then when I get campaigns and I look at the email, it's pending and it won't move.
Let's see here. Let me grab your thing. I'm gonna first take a look at the stuff on the back end here.
Yeah.
See if I see something immediately fixable, and then I'll only share if I get your permission, and then see something that's.
And I think maybe next week or at another one, if we could have a conversation around the email warming and stuff, because.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
I don't, because none of my emails are getting to Outlook. I did a little test on it.
Oh, you did deliverability tests. They're not going through to Outlooks.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like once do you know if you were on any specific lists, like blacklists or spam filters?
It shows up. It will go to their mailbox, but it shows up as spam. Because one of the things I'm struggling with is like the stats for reporting. Can't get anything out of them. I'm not getting anybody clicking these videos. I've sat with Rob and he's like, well, that's good, give me some feedback on that. And so I'm a little frustrated with it. And now they were not even sending. And so now I'm gonna have to pay $150 a month to have my emails warm back up.
Why 150? Is it a SendGrid or something high volume or?
No, that's just the first. I've watched 3 demos of this thing, and I just feel like.
Well, because yeah, I mean, like we pay $100 for our SendGrid one because it's high volume, like thousands a day. But a regular Gmail one or a lower volume one shouldn't be more than $10 or $15 per email. So 150 sounds really high for me. If it's 10 emails they're warming up for that price or something, but
no, one email.
That sounds way high for me. Yeah. Check out our email warm-up, the warm-up inbox tool, the one that I'm using. I have had great success with. The dashboard's super easy. Their support's great.
Which one is that?
Here, I'll share my screen one moment. That is this one here. I was just looking, and it looks like you have a few clicks, but definitely not as many clicks as we want. So this guy right here.
Most of those are probably me.
Right. No, I was looking to avoid the ones that were yours. I'll list just a couple other names there that you could see, like Alexandra, Jennifer. That's it. Alexandra and Jennifer were the clicks recently. Anyway, so but fewer than we would expect based on how many you're sending. Yeah, like we have a send of nearly 500 there. I would expect more than 5 clicks there would be a 1%, right? So there's definitely an issue there with either deliverability or subject. But I'm just looking at one of your older ones here from, what was that? Oh, that was actually just 2 days ago, March the 22nd. Yeah, sorry, that's 5 days ago already. Time's flying. But let me look at the analytics for that one. Yeah, so opens, but no.
You're looking at the analytics. Like, what are you looking at? Because
do you want me to share the screen really quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not showing any sort of hidden information. So,
Right,
so
yeah.
this one here, this was a previous campaign that we sent to 500 so people a couple
Right.
days ago.
And it went to 486 and then it stopped sending that 52. That I sent this out on March 10th.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look right now. This was using an Outlook one, so there were still some pending. So my guess is gonna be that because Outlook can only send about 300 a day, right? And if you exceed that and actually, timeout. Sorry, we have your Outlook account and your account is only configured to 100 right now, so that's why everything's stuck in pending.
But even when it gets past the days, it doesn't run itself.
I think the most immediate thing to do is to fix this limit issue right now, because that's definitely throttling you to a much lower limit. And then so let's see, because so currently your email sending limit was set to 100 per day. So if I come now and look at some of your campaigns, we'll see if maybe there was something. So yeah, even that one that was set 5 days ago for 500 emails, it would have not been finished yet, because today would have been the last day of.
No, but what I'm saying is I originally sent that out on March 10th. The one you're seeing is I copied it and deleted the old one thinking, I don't know what I was thinking in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, to make it work.
But yeah, no, I can say from a glance here what happened on the 22nd. This guy was scheduled to go out to over 500 contacts using an email that only has 100 per day sending limit. So what happens in that is it's kind of like we just sent a command to say 100 emails per day for 6 days, because that's over 500. So that means this campaign and your campaign sending with that particular email would not be available until the 28th, because this command sort of blocks up the highway, right? It blocks up the whole highway with 100, 6 days worth of 100 per day traffic.
Yeah.
And that's why everything would be pending until this one was finished. Now, with this canceled, I would actually, if you're canceling it, like these ones still sending, if anything's pending, I usually would I would usually let something finish if possible. In this case, that we could send this thing out in 2 days now instead of 6 days.
Well, I canceled it because the ones that just have one in them.
Yeah.
Oh, and so every day since last Thursday, I go in there and copy it, delete the old one, hoping that today is the day that it will run.
No, because again, where the whole your campaign tool using that particular email is there's traffic for 6 days there. So you wouldn't be able to do a new campaign.
I canceled that one, the one that has the 500. I just flat was canceled.
No, I understand, but it's the command was still there. It's okay. Something about the traffic was already sent through it. So we'd have to delete it and disconnect the email to stop that send that was already sent.
Gotcha.
So that's what we'd have to do to completely cancel it out. That's why I mentioned, I think before, delete the thing, just delete it. Unfortunately, that's not always nice because you wanted the result or something from it.
I deleted the 2 emails that you told me like 2 weeks ago to do, and this is a new email that I have now.
Okay.
Doug was, I know you said you can't do that, but he was putting things on my calendar, on my Gmail.
Yeah, I heard that was super strange, and I was like, we don't do that. I don't know what's happening. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to show, which is that if you do disconnect and reconnect your email, you can do this yourself now because we've added the permissions. Just make sure you can go higher. You can ask our team to do it. We're happy to do so, or you can do it yourself here. But when you reconnect this email, like let's say if it says invalid credentials, you change a password, something, we need to reconnect this email. You will need to readjust the limit per day back to $2.99. We even have an extra 100 on there. I don't recommend doing that. Don't change your Outlook to $3.99, because then it'll try to send $3.99 and Outlook will tell you, hey, you tried to send too many emails. We don't like that. So we don't want to upset Outlook. So just keep it there at 2. But if you reconnect it, that does need to be
So that's what happened, because
that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
So it was set back to 100, and then we had that one command for 5 something, and so it blocked you up for 8 days. So okay, it's good news is nothing seems to be out of place. Other good news is we fixed your email sender so you can get back to 300 a day. And then I think the other thing though, I'm not sure, did you caught the beginning of this thing too? Maybe that's helpful for you as well, as some additional segmentation, because where the click rate is, well, first the deliverability thing. Let's get hooked up on warm up inbox. If it's not a SendGrid, it's good, whatever, 15, $20 is much better than 150 for a domain. And they'll send whatever, couple like 100, whatever, it's 100 a day. I think they send to get it really warm. Much better. And I know their dashboard's great. And you can actually, what you were just seeing there, Chris, which I think is going to be really valuable for you, is you saw that you were not getting into Outlook inboxes. And what this system will allow you to do is you can prioritize which system that you're wanting to send on. So when I go to my settings here, I can say, I want to focus on Outlook or Gmail. So as soon as you plug in there, you can come focus specifically on the Outlook sender and fix that problem faster than the others. So warm up first, and then maybe some further segmentation. It's hard to say though, too, because if your deliverability is not getting great, if your deliverability is not great, then your results don't tell you as much as you would love to learn, right? Like who's clicking, who's opening, why. So deliverability is always the first foundational sort of thing I recommend to fix. Measure it, test it, make sure that it's good, right? It's not a thing that like, oh, I think it's good. Just measure it. It's easy. You can measure it. And then you can improve it with the warm up. So that's the foundation. And then the stuff we started with today was segmentation and breaking up your audiences to measure who's responding to what better. And that way you spend more of your time focusing on that particular.
Yeah, I've done a lot. I'm probably not over segmented, but I have it by state and by type.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good. It's definitely a good start. State, and then I don't want to push you further. Like if you're thinking maybe I'm over segmented, then probably too much. Yeah.
Because I got retiree.
That I should say.
Yeah, I have warm versus cold, pre-retiree versus retiree by state, gender. I just got all kind of stuff going on in there.
Okay, well, that sounds really good that there's specific segments. So now the next thing is to test some of your best efforts, right? If you're reaching out to retirees, does the video, does the message, does the subject or body include something like that for them? And then we can say, well, if I do my best effort to speak specifically to retirees, this is my result. And then if I do my best effort speaking to this segment, here's my result. And so now if I see this result's way better over here, maybe I focus more of my time there. And it's not always rocket science. It's not always a mathematical formula like that where, okay, if this, then that. Sometimes it just takes further viewing, right? Like, well, why did this perform better? Oh, because it's this time of year where somebody's, behaving specifically. You don't always jump at your first data set, right? You test and then, what is it? You come up with your theory and then you test it and then you test it further. And then once you've confirmed it, like, gravity, we know it's here, then you can move forward with that. We often make the mistake of jumping quickly at a result. One most common mistake is open rates, right? We'll send emails, we'll look at opens and say, oh, this thing got great open rates. And we assume that's a great, but then we didn't look at the actual clicks or the responses, like the quality of the engagement. It could just be that your whole list had iPhones and everybody's iPhone opened the email. You had 90% opens. But
that's the only thing I get on any of them is that open one. So that's kind of, I guess, part of the frustration there.
The other thing you can tell Chris too is if it's an immediate open, like when you send an email, if you have an open within the first few minutes, most of those are within the first minute or two, right? That's as long as a report would take to come back in. Those are all automatic opens.
Yeah.
If something happens later, like an hour later, that's more than likely a human. Not guaranteed though, because they could, their phone could have been on airplane mode or whatever, and then they just turned it on and it just previewed the email. So it's possible to get automatic opens after the main send, but a lot of those sends that take place immediately, those are automatic, or most of them are.
Yeah. And I'm seeing on there, sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 of them that it's an open, like right back to back.
Yeah. Apple Watch, iPhone, and a CRM that previews your email, you get 3 immediate email opens when the person themselves didn't even view it yet. Yeah.
And then I guess the last thing for me is I've done some automations, and I wouldn't mind, I don't know if there's an automation team that could kind of look at some of them. Because
you're here. Book a mic and say, I want you to review this automation, and I'm going to take a look at it before this session, and then we're going to review it during this session. So it's exactly what these are for.
Okay. Because this, to Kara's point, like, I randomly said, I guess I can send these 8 days apart, and some of them are 10 days apart. And so I just, just randomly selected that.
I would love to review that for you. That's why I wanted to encourage you guys here. There's only a few of us left today, but if you're watching the recording, it's exactly what we want you to do.
Okay.
Do watch the trainings, get up to speed on what you can do on your own, and then come get support. We can literally review anything in Dubb, maybe even integrations with other stuff. You're like, hey, I'm putting Dubb videos in HubSpot or whatever. Check this out. We're going to do that too. So you guys need help, we're here for it.
All right, I'll get on the list for the next one.
Yeah, warm up, and then let's review your existing stuff. Sounds like you had enough segmentation possibly. So then we just need some split testing and seeing, once the deliverability is fixed, how are these segments performing? Who do I focus on? And that will tell you that. So
thank you.
All right, very good. Thanks, Chris. Okay, Kara, I think we got back. Oh, actually, Tony first, and then Kara. Tony, mic's still on, my friend. Go ahead. I have one of my referrals. That's
one of my referrals, not George, who bought the Pro Plus. He wants to get. You show this beautiful collection.
The coaching showcase. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the coaching showcase. Thank you for putting words in my mouth. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too when I can help. Here we go. I'm going to put the link to that in the chat right now. So there it is. Dubb.com/S for showcase /Dubb coaching. And that'll have the open mic form, all the curriculum, and even the registration for the session as well.
And it'll have all those videos with the beautiful, colorful background.
Yes, yeah. This is the curriculum, not the past sessions. Exactly. So this has the good design and thumbnails and stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. I'm there. Yeah, I'll just send that over to him.
Perfect. And if you just email me too, if you lose the link after this or whatever, let me know. I can get it to you.
I've got it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
Bye.
Good. All right. Kara, here, let's see. We have a SendGrid account. Awesome. Yeah, we do too. That's one of our bulk senders. Should I get the Twilio number in there or use another service? So great question, Kara. We used Twilio for a while. And we realized too because we're B2B mostly, right? And the majority of our text messages through automation, most of the responses were stop because like director of marketing or a salesperson, like they don't want text messages from a software company for the most part, right? So because of most of the messages were stop, we tried a few different variations. The most common response was stop. So we're like, okay, text messaging automation for our ICP isn't really worth it, right? I mean, we have a number that people can text to like, hey, if I'm a text person, but through several results that we did, we found that but your audience is very different, right? You're dealing with consumers. So I do highly recommend text messaging when you're dealing with a business to consumers, real estate, mortgage, insurance. They're way more active on their cell phones than they do check their personal emails or something. So
that's for sure.
Twilio and SendGrid is they're cool because they're sister companies or whatever. They are disconnected from each other. So it's not like you sign up for one, you're approved for the other. So you will have to go through the same approval process as you would for any other phone number. Twilio's nice because they're cost effective. They're very cost effective compared to most other text message based solutions like a sales messenger or some of the other ones we directly integrate with. So when we were doing text messaging automations and more, we were using Twilio. I didn't have any complaints about it at all, except for that our ICP didn't work great. So we were like, let's just turn this off. Email's working way better. So Kara, if you don't have a phone number yet, Twilio is really cost effective. The only downside I would say to Twilio is their support isn't great, but actually, you know what? One thing I heard with mortgage, and this may or may not have changed. I remember when these 10 DLC sort of requirements came down the pipeline, which were like, you need to be, you show your business documentation, licensing, whatever, like show that you're a legitimate business. There was some language specific around loans, which is like, are you a third party sort of bridge person or are you a loan originator? Like there was some question there, and I unfortunately don't have the exact science on what the language was there. Chat.com will probably tell us very quickly what the difference is there. That's what I do. I go to chat.com and say, what are the requirements or limitations about getting a Twilio number for a loan officer? And they'll tell you, oh, well, if you're a third party originator or whatever. Again, I'm not specific with the terms, but I was familiar with it a year and a half ago when it happened or something, but it's been a while. So, but yeah,
I'm not top of mind for you. Okay, I get it.
Oh, that hurts my feelings. No, I totally know, but it's just most teams that we deal with, they already have a phone number, so we don't have to talk about the requirements of getting them in there. A lot of them have Ring Central, and so I know. But again, if I remember speaking to a loan person, and I'm like, yeah, you can just go get a Twilio number, and they're like, oh, well, my business is apparently different because I do this kind of third party where I'm not the originator, and I'm like getting loans by and his situation was unique, and Twilio wouldn't give him. So
yeah, I just don't want drama. Yeah. And I'm willing to pay a little bit more if it saves me time and it doesn't jack up something with my customers.
Yeah, no. So I would say the only difference there is with the helping getting the sign up, like somebody at sales message, there's a little chat and they'll talk to you like that same day, right? Like, oh, hey, you filled out this form wrong or something, but then you're just paying more per message. And in my opinion, the customer service is great. And I don't want to downplay that, but with a phone number type service, you don't really need beyond getting signed up for the phone number. You kind of don't go back to them too often, right? You get them, you do what you need to with it, and then you don't really talk to them anymore. So, I have had people though that are like, look, I tried with Twilio, something didn't work. Their team didn't respond back to me. I went to sales message, I submitted, same issue, but they helped me get over the issue, and now I have a number. So, I've seen that. So, my suggestion is go do that, right? Yeah, Twilio first, but wait, chat first to make sure your specific mortgage application.
Yeah, because we are a lender, we're not a broker, and we don't buy leads and stuff like that. So these are. So
then tell your specific situation. It'll either say I have no idea, ask Twilio. Okay. More than likely, it'll say here's the exact answer. It's getting
got it. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Good. All right. It looks like you have a second part there though, right? Use the AI help. Okay. Yeah. Is that Sia that you talked to, or which one, or the Finn, the little blue button?
The help button. Well,
this
yeah. Like whenever I go to help,
this guy, okay, yeah. This one we took a long time to train and make sure
it's pretty good,
as good as it can be. Yeah, I think it's like 75. It fluctuates between 70 and 80% of everything it handles. Like people give it the thumbs up 70% of the time. So it's doing a good job.
Yeah, it's pretty good because it's sometimes it's getting what you want to do, but it's like, okay, where do I go to do that? So
right. And it gives you the list here.
Yes.
Yeah. The one thing I have noticed is when it's really text heavy, sometimes people they don't even read it, and then you just say talk to a person, and then we'll come look at the message, and actually the AI gave the exact right answer, but it was in a 10 bullet form, so they didn't read it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of information that comes back in the help. That's the most robust help I think I've ever seen from AI anyway.
Yeah. No, we trained it on a whole bunch. We used our webinars, our video transcripts, our support articles. So when we use answers in a video, they're robust answers, right? Like I try to give you the full story. And so that's kind of the answers that it likes to give is the full thing. So,
well, it's technical. I mean, there are technical questions. You need a technical answer, but you've got to be willing to spend the extra 5 seconds to actually read the whole thing. So.
That's it too. Yeah.
I wouldn't be a very good help person.
It's not working. What's not working? The button. Which button? Yeah, it's So
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, good guys. Thank you for your time. Happy Thursday, and hope you all enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.